See, you may think that if I am going to take lectures only for 4 5 days, what difference it is going to make. But I will tell you that this is the most important, crucial time for preparation. So I will tell you tips which will improve your performance immensely. Okay. So I will tell you what is key behind success. So regarding success in NEET exam, I will tell you see, if we consider that the things required for success in NEET exam, it is 100%, then study has importance of only 50%. And there are other things which are required for success in NEET exam. So which are those things? I am going to tell you, but at the end of lecture. See, you must have observed, you must have experienced that when you solve any question paper, then at the end of question paper, you start solving questions quickly and with speed, and you also start getting answers quickly. Okay, so your speed increases, you start getting answers quickly. How it happens? But all those answers are wrong. So how it happens, why it happens, and how to avoid it. So this is very important, and I'm going to tell you everything about this 50%. I'm going to teach 50% studies, but other things which are not taught in any coaching class all over India, I'm going to tell you in those 5 lectures. So they are very important. Let us start our chapter, gravitation. Now see, you can imagine that you are playing cricket and you are batting. Okay, and imagine that fast bowler bowls you a ball and you hit it in the air and ball goes vertically up. Now imagine that wicket keeper runs for taking catch and he is just below the ball. Okay, and he is there and waiting to ball come down, and he is waiting there for 1 hour, 2 hours, and ball is not coming back. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. See, if there is no gravitational field due to earth, then ball will go and it will go into space and it will never return. So that way it will be beneficial to you. Okay. Second important thing, see, we are considering that if there is no gravitational field on the earth, what will happen? So let us see one more case. It is very interesting. And see, this is earth. This is earth, okay, and there is atmosphere surrounding it. Now in atmosphere there are various gases, particles, and they are running haphazardly in a different direction with different speed. Okay, now suppose some particle, it is moving like this. Okay, now see, there is atmosphere because Earth's gravitational force is holding it down, it is binding. Okay, but if there is no gravitational field, then these particles, they will escape and they will never return. So if there is no gravitational field, there will be no atmospheric gases. If there is no oxygen, you can think of what will happen to our lives. So see, it happened on the moon also. On the moon there is gravitational force, but it is not enough to bound the molecules of atmosphere. So if it is not enough, then also you will be in trouble. So to summarize it, I can say that we are fortunate that earth has enough gravitational force. One more thing I will tell you. See, this is earth and satellite is revolving around the earth. Okay, now suppose suddenly gravitational force disappears, then in what direction this satellite will go? It will continue its circular motion? No, it will go in this direction, in the direction of centrifugal force? No. Remember that any body always moves in the direction of velocity vector. So in this case, velocity is tangential, and so it will be thrown out. Satellite will be thrown out tangentially in the direction of velocity vector. This will be effect of disappearance of gravitational force. What will happen to us? See, we are on the surface of the earth is rotating, and if there is no gravitational force, we all will be thrown out tangentially in this space. So these are many effects if there is no gravitational force. Let us see what is reality. Reality is there is gravitational force, and how much is force, on what factors it depends. So Newton has given a law called Newton's universal law of gravitation. So Newton's law gives you the amount of force between two masses. So if there are two masses m1 and m2, and they are separated by distance d, then according to Newton, there will be force of attraction. And this force is given by formula G m1 m2 upon d square. So according to Newton, if there are two masses separated by some distance, then there is force of attraction, and this force of attraction, it depends on product of two masses. Heavier are the masses, more is the force, and it is inversely proportional to distance square. So if bodies are more apart, then force will be less. Okay, so can we say that force is only dependent upon product of masses? Can we say that force is directly proportional to mass? Heavier mass necessarily means more force? No. See, if we want to establish relationship between any two physical quantities, then rule is that all other quantities must remain constant. It means if we want to find out relation between force and masses, then this must be constant. If you keep d constant, then you can say that force is directly proportional to masses. If you want to establish relation between force and distance, then you have to keep masses constant. If you keep masses constant, then you can say that force is directly proportional to d square. Now see why I am writing this formula. See, this formula is very important, that force is inversely proportional to distance square. Why it is important? Because it is same law, same formula for electrostatic field. It is same for magnetic field also. So I will tell you very important thing about this physics. See, there are three fields: gravitational field, electric field, and magnetic field, and all three behave similarly. It is because when after Big Bang, first gravitational field was generated, and then electric and magnetic fields were generated. So whatever rules are applicable to, say, gravitation, same are applicable to electric and magnetic field. So it is very easy for you for exam. So just remember any one of them, and other things you need not remember. They be exactly same. Okay. So just you understand gravitation and your preparation for electric and magnetic field is over, not required to study again. Okay, so remember, for electric as well as magnetic field, force is inversely proportional to distance square. So our formula is this: force is equal to Gm1 m2 upon d square. Now let us see what are characteristics of this force. One is gravitational force is always attractive. It is never repulsive. Okay, and these are two forces, F1 and F2. So remember, according to Newton's third law of motion, these two forces will be equal in magnitude but opposite in direction. So if they ask you question, what is the ratio of F1 upon F2? If this ratio is asked, then you will think that, see, these two are equal and so ratio is 1:1. But it is not correct, because see, they are vectors. If they are vectors like this, then ratio is not 1:1, because they are in opposite direction. They are in opposite direction, so you have to write that F1 is equal to minus F2. Now this minus sign, it is because they are in opposite direction, and so this ratio will be -1. See, remember, each question carries 4 marks. You can't play with it. Okay, take it, every question seriously. So you think that it is very simple question, but see, it is, when they are asking you about vectors, then ratio is -1. If they ask you magnitude like this, if they ask you magnitude, then ratio is +1. So this is one thing. Okay, now I said that these two forces are equal in magnitude. Now suppose this is Earth, and if we throw a ball in air, then this gravitational force will be like this due to Earth, and there will be force due to ball. Now my question to you guys is, do you think that this force will be able to lift the Earth? And do you believe that because of that force, this Earth will start accelerating, it will be lifted up? Do you believe in it? Yes, you have to believe. It is true that force will act, and due to that force, this Earth will be lifted. Okay, but in real life, we don't feel it. We don't feel it because magnitude of this acceleration is very, very small, and so we don't feel it. But it is true. It is true theoretically that every time you throw a ball up, then due to ball, force acts on the Earth and Earth is lifted up. And suppose there is a ball here and there is sun here. There is sun. So this is sun. Then there is gravitational force. And so gravitational force is acting on the sun due to tennis ball. And this force displaces sun. It displaces sun. Sun starts accelerating because of tennis ball. It is true. It is true because law says that force is equal in magnitude. But again, in this case, mass of sun is very, very large, and so acceleration is so small that it is tending to 0. So remember, boys and girls, that there is force, there is acceleration, but it may be negligible. Now see how you get confused. Now suppose there are two masses. They are 1 kg and 1 kg each. Okay, and there is negative charge here and negative charge here. Okay, so these two metallic spheres, 1 kg masses each, and they have charges also, minus q and minus q. So because of these charges, there will be repulsion. Okay, now question is, what will be gravitation force? Gravitation force in this case between two masses will be attractive or repulsive. And you may feel because of these negative charges, you think that there is repulsive force here. It is electrostatic force. But remember that gravitational force will be always attractive. So in this case also there will be gravitational force and it will be attractive. So in all situations gravitational force will be attractive. In all situations Newton's law holds good, and so it is named as universal law. It is said it is universal because whenever there are two masses anywhere in the universe, Newton's law holds good, and so it is applicable everywhere. So this is about some questions, some basic concepts. Now see how questions are asked in exam. See, one type of questions, they are based on information. So questions based on information, it includes definitions, it includes laws, statements of laws, and formula. Okay, so this is questions based on information. Second is questions are based on concepts. So questions are based on concepts. And third is questions are based on applications. So in every chapter you are going to classify which are important things to do. One is information, that you have to remember. Okay, concepts you have to understand, and applications you have to solve numericals. Okay, so these three questions will be either based on information or concepts or advanced concepts or applications and numericals based on that. So questions in NEET, see, I have a teaching experience of 20 years, and my feeling is that physics part of questions is not that difficult, but important thing is your calculations, how you do calculations quickly and correctly. Okay, so let us see now one more thing. See, now these are two spheres, they are identical and their radius is r. The radius is r and masses are m. So what will be gravitational force between these two bodies? Now do you think that distance between them is 0 and so gravitational force will be infinity? No, it is not like that. See, force is equal to Gm into m. And then what is d? D is distance between center of mass. So center of mass of this is here, center of mass is here. So this distance is important and it is 2r. So distance between center of mass is important, so it is 2r square. So this is for force between two bodies which are touching each other. See, one more thing, there is no effect of medium in which bodies are placed. Okay. Now one very frequently asked question I will tell you. See, this is Earth. Okay, and there is satellite. There is satellite, centripetal force is acting on the satellite. Now my question is, if this Earth shrinks like this, if Earth shrinks, then what will happen to this gravitational force? This gravitational force, do you think it will increase or it will decrease or it will remain same? Now some of you may think that because it has shrunk, this distance, it has increased. Distance is increased and so force will decrease. But remember, again I am telling you, that in this case, distance between center of masses is not changing. It is not changing, and so force will not change. Even if earth shrinks or expands, then force will not change, because force depends on position of center of mass, and position of center of mass of this earth is not changing here. So remember, here force will remain same. One more question that is asked on Newton's law is this. See, there are three masses. There are three masses at the vertices of equilateral triangle, and masses are m, m, and m. Okay, this angle is 60 degrees, and this distance is 1 meter, 1 meter, and 1 meter. And they will ask you what force will be acting on this mass due to these two masses. So now we have to find out what will be force due to this mass. Now imagine that you are standing here and you are pulled by this mass. You are pulled means direction of force will be this. So this is F1. Now you are standing here and this mass will pull you, and so force will be in this direction. This is F2. Now as these masses are same and distances are also same, so these two forces will be equal in magnitude. So these two forces are equal in magnitude. Now we have to find out resultant of these two vectors. So formula is this: resultant force, it is equal to square root of, it is F1 square plus F2 square plus 2F1 F2 and cos theta. So addition of any two vectors, this is formula, and here forces are equal. So I will put values here. It is F square plus F square plus 2F square, and cos of 60 is 1/2. Cos of 60 degrees is 1/2. So I can cancel this 2 and 2 and I will get root 3F. Now what is F? F is, according to Newton's law, F is G. It is m into m and upon distance square. So if you substitute values, you will get answer. So in this way questions are asked. Now on this same concept, very difficult question also can be asked, but concept behind it is very, very simple. Now I will show you how very difficult question can be solved with very simple techniques. So once you have understood this question, now I will discuss very difficult question, but you can solve it easily. So let us see. See, suppose this is circle. Okay, this is circle and there are three masses. Just like this, there are three masses and they are at the vertices of equilateral triangle. They are at the vertices of equilateral triangle. Now in this case, see, in this case resultant force was acting in this direction. This was resultant force. Okay. Now in this case, now force acting on this due to these two, we have seen in this question that resultant force, there will be two forces, okay, and resultant force will be going like this. Okay. Now concept is that if this force is able to supply the centripetal force to this mass, then this mass will be able to revolve in a circle. Okay, it will be able to revolve in a circle. Similarly, force acting on this, if it is supplying required centripetal force, this also will move along the circle. Similarly, this mass. So if this condition is fulfilled, then you will observe that these three masses, they will move along the circle. these three masses will move along the circle, and they will ask you, is it possible? The answer is yes, it is possible. But if it is true, then they will ask you, what should be velocity of these masses? What should be velocity of these masses? First thing is to imagine that what they are able to move along a circle. Answer is because resultant force acting on every mass is supplying required centripetal force, and as there is centripetal force, there is circular motion. So these three masses are moving along the circle. Now with the same, it is actually similar question. So here if we have masses m, m and m, and distances are 1 meter, 1 meter and 1 meter, okay, then in this case we saw that resultant force, this is root 3f. We saw this, it is applicable here also. So force acting on this also will be root 3f and passing through center. Force acting on this also will be root 3f and passing through center. Okay, so what force is there? It is root 3, and f we have seen previous question, it is gm square upon d square. Okay, so this is force. Now this centripetal force, you know, for circular motion it is equal to mv square upon r. It is equal to mv square upon r. Now you can cancel one mass here, okay, and now you are asked to find out velocity. So we'll take this r to this side. So I will write it is root 3 gm r upon d square, and this is equal to v square. So this is equal to v square. We are asked to find out velocity, then just take square root of both sides. So this is square root and we get answer. So we got answer. What velocity is required? Velocity required is square root of root 3 gm r. R is radius of the circle, okay, and divided by distance square. D is 1 meter. So if you put values, you will get answer. Now see, seemingly it is very difficult question to imagine and to calculate also. But if you understand basic simple question, then you can apply same concept here and you will be getting answer. So understanding simple questions and applying them to difficult questions is key to success. And so we are going to study in this session very basic questions which are very useful to solve difficult questions which are asked in NEET exam. Now we'll see another topic. Now suppose this is earth and mass m is here and this is earth, okay. Now see what is weight of this mass. Weight of this mass is mg, and according to Newton's formula it is g, then mass of earth, then m and upon r square. So equating these two, you can cancel m here and then you get formula g is equal to g mass of planet upon r square. So very important formula we get here. And now if I take this r square to left hand side, then we get formula. It is formula is like this. It is gm is equal to gr square. And one more thing, not only this, it is also equal to g at height h, g at height h into r plus h square. So according to me, most important formula in this chapter is this formula. You can solve many questions using this formula. So gm, it is mass of planet, it is equal to gr square, and it is also equal to g at height h into r plus h bracket square. So you can write that gh upon g it is equal to r square upon r plus h square. So one thing you know that when we go up, then g decreases. So how g decreases? See, g decreases according to height. So gh is inversely proportional to height square. So here we have many questions based on this. I will tell you one question, very frequently asked question. See, question is like this: at what height g will be 25% of g on the surface of the earth? So what is asked? Height is asked. At what height g will be, means gh will be 25% of g on the surface of earth. So question is, you have to find out h. Okay, at what height g will be less? To what extent? It will be 25% of g on the surface of the earth. So I will use this formula, gh upon g is equal to r square upon r plus h square. Now see, remember, whenever there is question on percentage, always take initial value 100. So I know that g is not 100, but we are going to take initial g as 100. So if it is 100 on the surface, then at height h it will be 25%, means it will be 25. So 25 upon 100 is equal to r square upon r plus h bracket square. So if you solve it, then you will get 1/4. Now remember very important thing, that at this stage never expand this bracket, never expand. Whatever values are, take square root of both sides, never expand this bracket. So I will take square root of both sides. So 1/4 its square root is 1/2, and square root of this, it is r upon r plus h. Now I will do cross multiplication. So I will get r plus h is equal to 2r, and so h is equal to r. So this is answer. At what height it will be 25%, then it is height is equal to radius of earth. You know what is radius of earth? It is 6,400 kilometer. So this is our answer. We get answer whenever there is question on percentage. Always take initial value 100 and it will make things simple. Second thing, I told you that in such case never expand bracket, take square root of both sides. So this is one question. Now see, g is equal to gm upon r square. Okay, see now, g is equal to gm upon r square. Now what do you think? You have a body and it has some gravitational acceleration. Now if you go on adding mass, do you think that g will increase? See, we can't say that g will increase because it is not only dependent upon mass. See, it is dependent upon r square also. So right answer is g is dependent upon ratio mass upon r square. So if your mass upon r square, this ratio is more, then g will increase. Otherwise g will not, we can't say anything about g. So you know what is highest value of g? See, highest value is in the black hole. Okay, so for that you want to increase g, then what you have to do? You have to increase this ratio mass upon r square. So let us see some questions here. Now what are factors affecting g? Now let us see, g is gravitational acceleration. You know that on the surface of earth it is 9.8 meter per second square. This is g. Now g is not exactly same everywhere on the earth, but overall it is, we can say it is 9.8 meter per second square. Now see on what factors g depends. G changes or g always remains constant. Let us see. One factor is shape of body or shape of earth. Now shape of earth, it is not perfectly spherical. See, it is ellipsoidal, means at the equator r is more. So if r is more, then you can see g will be minimum at the equator. At the pole g will be maximum. So one is shape, second is height or depth. Now remember, g is highest on the surface of the earth, and if you go deep inside or if you go up, in both cases g decreases. So how g decreases? See, formula is this: gh is equal to g into 1 minus 2h upon r. This is when we go up, and if we go deep inside, then it is 1 minus d upon r. So see, if we go up, then g decreases, and here you can use this formula only when h is very small as compared to r. Means if height is 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, it is very small, you can use this formula. And if you go deep inside, in that case also g decreases, and at the center of the earth g is 0, means your weight at the center of the earth will be 0. So how this graph varies? See, this graph, g is on y-axis and r is distance from center of the earth. Then how this g varies? See, inside it, at the center it is 0, so it is starting from origin. Then g increases linearly like this. Okay, it is highest on the surface, so here r is equal to r, and then it is like this. So here outside it is like this, and here it is like this. So how g varies? G is 0 at the center, then it linearly increases, it is highest on the surface, and then outside earth again it decreases according to relation g is inversely proportional to r square. So this is second factor which affects g. And third factor, there are questions on that also, and that is effect of rotation of earth. Effect of rotation of earth. So g effective formula, what is effect of rotation of earth? Its effect is to reduce g. So how g varies? G is 1 minus r omega square cos square lambda. So this is formula. G is on the surface of the earth, and g, it is effective g due to rotation of earth. So there is negative sign, means g decreases because of rotation of earth. Now what is lambda? This lambda is called latitude angle. Okay, so at the equator lambda is 0 at equator, and lambda is 90 degrees at the pole. So there are questions asked on this in NEET and PMT exam also. They will give you lambda, then omega you know, and you know r, so you can find out g. Okay, so one thing you have to remember, that effect of rotation is to decrease g except at the pole. At the pole there is no effect of rotation of earth on g. So at the pole GE is equal to g at the pole. Okay, So they will ask you question, what is the effect of rotation of Earth on G at the pole? And your answer is there is no effect of rotation at the pole. Okay, but elsewhere its effect is to decrease G. Now you know that satellite is launched with the help of rocket. So rocket, it launches satellite. So it consumes fuel, and this fuel is burned and gases, they come down like this. You know this. So tremendous energy is required to move it and launch in the orbit. So do you think that this energy required, it depends on gravitational acceleration, or it depends on some other factors? So generally we think that it affects due to value of G. If G is less, then it is better to launch because less energy will be required. But that is wrong concept. See, the energy required to launch through rocket, it is not dependent upon G, but it depends on binding energy at that position. Okay. Let us see gravitational intensity and gravitational potential. So I will write down gravitational intensity. It is denoted by E. It is denoted by E. Now see, mass, every mass produces its own gravitational field. So suppose this is mass and it is mass m, okay, then it will produce its own gravitational field. What will be direction of gravitational field? Gravitational field will be like this. It will be attractive. Okay. Now how we can how we can experience that there is gravitational field produced by this mass? To understand it, we will bring any other mass near it. So if I bring any other mass m here, and if this mass experiences force, then we can say that there is influence of gravitational field produced by this mass here. Okay. So at any point, if we want to check if there is gravitational field due to this mass, very simple. Bring any other mass at the given point and see if it experiences a force. If it experiences a force, there is gravitational field due to this. Now let us see magnitude. First thing is gravitational field or intensity, it is vector quantity. Okay, and it is in this direction. So for this point, it will be in this direction. Now see, if I bring here mass m, it will experience force F1. Okay. Now if I remove this mass and instead of that, if I place here mass m2, then it will experience force F2. Okay. So we observe that there is proportionality between mass I am keeping there and force experienced, and this proportionality is in such a way that ratio of F1 upon m1 and F2 upon m2, this ratio, it always remains same, and it is called gravitational intensity at that point. So we will show it like this, gravitational intensity at that point. Okay, so you can see that gravitational intensity, it is ratio of force and mass. So what will be its unit? It will be Newton per kilogram, and I told you that it is a vector quantity. Now there are various shapes due to which gravitational intensity is different. So it depends on how mass is distributed. Let us see gravitational intensity due to point mass. So suppose this is point mass at P, its mass is m. Okay, and we have to find out gravitational intensity at point Q. Now see, this direction of intensity will be in this direction. So this is this. It is gravitational intensity at point Q due to mass m. So what is it? it is gravitational intensity is equal to force upon, suppose I bring here mass m, then it is this. Now gravitational force between two masses according to Newton's law, it is Gmm upon d square and then divided by this mass. So it is mm will cancel, and then we get formula for point mass, it is Gm upon d square. So gravitational intensity, its magnitude is given by G into this mass divided by distance square. So this is gravitational intensity at this point due to this mass. Now we know that Gm upon d square is also equal to gravitational acceleration. So very important finding, that gravitational intensity is same as G. So any question asked about gravitational intensity is actually question asked on G. So this is about gravitational intensity. Now different shapes, for example, first thing it is point mass, then second is due to ring of mass m, then third it is due to shell, hollow shell, and fourth is solid sphere. So various shapes are discussed, and you will get formula for ring, for shell, and which is hollow sphere, and solid sphere. So you have to remember formula for ring, shell, and solid sphere. Now I will tell you about gravitational potential. Now what is gravitational potential? Gravitational potential. Now suppose there is mass m here. Suppose this is mass m and it will produce gravitational field. We have to find out gravitational potential at certain point. So let us consider this is point which is under consideration. So how to find out gravitational potential? See, if you bring some mass m from infinity to the given point. Okay, so from infinity we bring mass m here, and work done is W. So work done to bring any mass from infinity to the given point is W, then W divided by this mass. W divided by this mass is equal to gravitational potential. So gravitational potential is a scalar quantity and it is work done per unit mass. So its unit is joules per kilogram. But there is one more important formula, and that important formula is, it gives you relation between intensity and potential, and it is very important. It is intensity is equal to dV by dr. So very important. Now see, gravitational potential, again I told you that you have to consider formula for gravitational potential for point mass, for ring, for hollow shell, and solid sphere. All this you have to do. Now I am telling you most important things, and because there is time constraint, we are discussing only very important things. So very important formula is intensity is derivative of potential with respect to r. So I will give you one question. Now suppose potential is given, potential, gravitational potential is given, it is 2r square plus r minus 1. This is potential given, and they will ask you find out gravitational intensity at r is equal to 2 meters. Okay, so you have to find out intensity when r is equal to 2 meters. So I will use this formula, intensity is derivative of this v with respect to r. So I will derive it with respect to r. So 2r square is 4r and this plus 1. Now you have to put r is equal to 2 meter. So it is 8 plus 1 and it is equal to 9. So gravitational intensity, it is 9 Newton per kilogram. Okay, so in this way you can find out gravitational intensity at any point if variation of potential and R is given. Very simple, just take derivative of this and then put value of R, you will get intensity at that point. Now if you have to find out what will be gravitational maximum gravitational intensity. Now to find out they will give you relation between V and R. Okay, then method is you take derivative of dV by dr, and to find out maximum value of intensity, equate it to 0. So if you equate it to 0, you will get some value, put value of R, and then this is what? This is intensity. So Emax, if they ask you to find out, then what you have to do, they will give you relation between V and R, take derivative of it and then equate it to 0. When you equate it to 0, you will get value of gravitational intensity maximum. So these are questions which are important, graphs are important. Now only important thing that you have to remember in case of gravitation is gravitational potential. Potential is always negative. It is always negative, and potential energy is also always negative. So if they give you graph of gravitational potential versus R, and suppose they give you graph like this, gravitational potential and R. Okay, so if they give you relation graph like this is one graph A, then second graph it is B. Okay, and if they give you third graph as C. Now see, such graphs are given, then I told you that gravitational potential is always negative. So these positive things are not possible, these two are not possible, and it must be negative, and so this may be your answer. So remember, gravitational potential graph, you see to it that it is negative. Also potential energy, it should be always negative. And third more thing is total energy of a satellite or any body is always negative. So graph of that must be negative. If it is not negative, then it is not your answer. So there are questions in NEET on graphs, and you have to understand them. For example, see if graph is like this, it is velocity and time. This graph is there, and one graph is given like this. This is one option. Other graph is given like this. So this is B. Okay. Third graph is given like this. So this is C. Now see, it is very easy to eliminate some options. For example, see this graph. See how time can be negative. It is not possible that time is negative. So this graph cannot be answered. So this is first thing. Now see this graph. Here time is increasing and time is decreasing. So it is not possible. Time is decreasing. That is not possible. So third graph is definitely not answer. And so by elimination also you can say that this can be your answer. So in this way there are many techniques to eliminate options and to get correct answer. Now see, there is negative marking, means you must know if you know answer or not, and for that you need to prepare a lot. So more you prepare, more you understand that you are capable of answering question or not. And that's why there is negative marking. If you don't know, you are not sure, then don't attempt. Okay. Now see, I told you that in exam, everywhere, in all exams, it happens that in last few minutes, like in last 10 minutes, you solve 20 questions. and then when you come out of classroom you say that see last 10 covers I made up it and I solved 20 questions in 10 minutes, and see miraculously I was getting answers immediately. Now do you know what it means? See, you know, if you are answering quickly, it is because of loss of concentration. So thing is that if your concentration decreases, then you start getting answer quickly but wrong answers, and that is what happens in every competitive exam. In every competitive exam, last 10 minutes you see that 20 questions are remaining, you start solving them fast and you start getting answers quickly, but that is dangerous, and it is because you don't have enough concentration, and concentration, it depends on how much oxygen your brain is getting. So see, at the end of your paper, if your concentration falls, oxygen supply to your brain falls, then its effect is that you start getting answers quickly, you solve questions quickly, you read questions quickly, and that is suicidal. That is suicidal. So in next lecture I'm going to tell you how to overcome this problem. Generally, see, if you do like this, in 10 minutes you solve 20 questions, out of 20 questions 15 are wrong, imagine there is negative marking, what will happen to your result? It happens with almost every student, everywhere, in every exam. Okay, and they never understand how they could solve so many questions in such a less time at the end of the paper. Okay, so this is a pitfall, I will say pitfall, and there is special technique to overcome this. Okay, so don't fall in that trap. Second thing is question when exam is just 6 days, 7 days away, then you start studying more, and you study up to 3 o'clock, and you get up early in the morning at 5 o'clock, and again you start studying. So you study 16 hours, 17 hours, and that is also again wrong. See, you must have minimum 8 hours sleep. Do you know that Einstein used to sleep 10 hours every day? Okay, he used to sleep 10 hours every day. So minimum sleep required is 8 hours, and more you study, more sleep you require. So at least you must take 8 hours sleep. Second is good diet. See, proper diet, more protein and less carbohydrate, that is required. And third important is exercise. See, if you do exercise, then there will be better blood circulation. Better blood circulation means more oxygen will go to your brain, and then it will give you more ability to think. Okay, so competitive exam, actually it is mind game or brain game, and most importantly, supply of oxygen to your brain, that is most crucial, but nobody thinks about it. Okay, so for that you do exercise well, take diet at right time and in proportion, and take proper sleep, minimum 8 hours, drink lots of water, take care of corona, and be successful. Thank you. Next time, next lecture, I am going to teach you most important part of this chapter. So do attend next lecture. If you like this lecture and you want to attend more lectures, then please subscribe to our channel. Ask your friends to subscribe our channel and view my lectures, and also share if you think so. Thank you.